It's a very different experience playing it versus listening to somebody else play it.
Spending $20,000 to $30,000 to forge a product is worth it.
I don't do things half-assed. I either do it or I don't do it. I don't do much in moderation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Off the Clock. I am Blake Ray.
I'm Chad Sagris. We got a really good one for you today.
We are sitting down in Nashville with George Gruhn, somebody who defines the ethos of collecting. If you share his passion for guitars, you've probably seen him online or maybe even read his books. This interview is going to be a bit different from what you've seen out there. And we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, creativity, the psychology of collecting. And of course, sitting down with us is George Gruhn from Gruhn Guitars. George, pleasure to be with you today.
Pleased to be here.
So thank you so much for hosting us in your beautiful showroom. This is my first time in Nashville, so it's very special, I think, for me right now.
Nashville's a pretty special place. I came to Nashville actually with this specific intent of starting a music store. I was not born here. I was born in New York. There are 3 different neighborhoods in the New York City area. By the time I was 8, then the family moved to suburban Pittsburgh for 6 years. I was in 9th grade, suburban Chicago. I went to Oak Park River Forest High. And that is where I first got exposed to some of the type of music that inspires me now and developed some interest in guitars. My main interest was in zoology. I've been collecting snakes since I was 8 years old. When I looked at my friends' guitars, banjos, and mandolins, I found that they fit perfectly into the Linnaean taxonomic order, the way zoologists and botanists view living organisms. And my father was a pathologist. I saw autopsies before I was 10 years old. And I found that I could look at the instruments the same way a good forensic pathologist does and let it tell its own story. So that people might tell me a story about how their granddaddy had this when it was back in 1930, and I could look at it and tell they're lying. Good guitars with proper care can last a long time. Like, for example, violin Stradivari died in 1737 at age 94. But the point is, Stradivari violins are still being played today. In fact, there are about 650 of them still in existence today.
Wow. That's it? Only 650 left. How many do you think they made?
That's a lot. One guy.
He made them all by himself.
That's right.
Wow.
He didn't. The only apprentice he had was his son, who wasn't all that great. But things that he made, there's about 650 that are well documented. That's a lot. Even some of the instruments I deal in are more rare than that. Like the top of the line Gibson mandolin. I'd show you a couple of mandolins. They're more rare than a Stradivari, and they're still good. If you got a moment, I'll just grab one from over.
Yeah, grab one from over there. I think one of the things that's really interesting that you said earlier is fancy doesn't mean good. And sometimes there's stuff that's really good and it sounds great, and then maybe it's not the fanciest guitar or collectible out there.
And keep in mind, though, if it's a famous maker, a fancy one is probably real good.
Fancy one.
So, a fancy Martin is going to be one of their expensive models.
Okay.
And if it's a pre-World War II fancy one, they're going to be worth significant money.
I see one Martin up there, and I'll ask you in a little bit.
Martins in a row.
It's $115,000.
Right. But there's a whole row of those.
That's a whole row of them. I know.
There's 7 of them.
That's wild.
One of them, the newest one in that group, is 1946. And the oldest one is 1939. But the ones earlier than that bring even more.
George, what was it about guitars that truly spoke to you?
Well, the good ones not only look good, they sound good, and they're fun to play. Even that's true for mandolins, and it's true for violins. But the violins, the really great ones, are not fancy looking. Stradivari violins do not look any more fancy than some student models that you can get for $150. If you look close, the workmanship is really, really good, and they do sound incredible. And the $150 ones don't. They're, for most people, would not be able to tell a real Stradivari if they saw it side by side with one that's worth $500. What for the right player, they can sure enough tell the difference when they play it. But
Mandolin.
Ace of mandolins, this was Gibson's top of the line model in 1909. The F4. It had beautiful wood. Oh man.
Wow, look at that.
It has lovely ornamentation. Even the tuner buttons have inlays in them. And that inlay on the peg head is plenty fancy. That doesn't look cheap.
No.
I'm able to see the price tags on these. So this is basically one of the rare mandolins you're ever going to find.
But this is more rare than a Stradivari violin.
How many do you think they made of these?
Like, this is actually late in the year 1909, and it's one of the first to have this particular body shape with 2-point here and here. The earlier ones had an extra point here and had a longer body, and they were not as well made. There probably aren't much more than a dozen that were made like this.
So very, very, very rare.
Particular variation of the F4. Now this is priced at $12,500. It would cost more than that to build a replica right now.
That's amazing.
Because it's hand carved and it's an intricate carving pattern. And a good maker would probably charge more to make a replica of this. But this one here.
This is the one I'm really curious. I'll hold that for you there.
1930. This is the F5 model. This model came out in 1922. I have a 22 model upstairs. It's priced at $125,000.
Wow.
This one is priced at $57,500. And this was still the top of the line model in 1930. And it is a very good mandolin. But the thing about the instruments is that they look good. So as art, you can hang them on the wall. They're beautiful. They're a piece of sculpture, and they're as pretty as a painting. You can hang them up and view them as sculpture or artwork, but they sound good. But you can hear how it sounds when somebody else plays it, or you can play it if you know how. It's a very different experience playing it versus listening to somebody else play it. If somebody doesn't know how to play it, they can pick it up and they can touch it, and it still feels kind of sensual and really good. But it's only when you know how to play that you're using your sense of touch as well as your sense of hearing. It's interactive. And when you play a really good one, the really good ones feel alive. And they are a musical partner. They make you come up with new ideas where the instrument itself actually suggests ideas. It feels alive.
It has a soul.
It's responsive. It's got soul.
Yeah.
But it's only when you play it yourself that you can tell. And for people who don't play, the best analogy I can give is a car. If you have, you can get a Lamborghini that's a sedan, and you can get a ride in the back seat and somebody drives you around. It doesn't feel that much different from a Cadillac or whatever. You can't tell much sitting in the back seat other than, it handles nice. But you don't tell how it handles, really. You can just judge, is it a smooth ride? And actually, the real high-performance cars are not designed for smooth ride. They're designed for the driver to feel the road. If you have one that is smooth and quiet and smooth as butter, that's not going to be a high-performance car. It might be good for chauffeuring little old ladies around, which is what Rolls Royces were for. But the early Rolls Royces are pretty low-powered. You can floor it and nothing dramatic happens.
It can be slow like there. It's great.
They accelerate, but they're boring to drive. They're designed for rich folks to be chauffeured in. And some of the earlier Royces even were, the back area was fully closed and the driver's area was open, didn't even have a roof. The chauffeur didn't get the luxury ride. And it wasn't designed to be fun for the chauffeur. It was designed to be elegant and comfortable for the passenger. But the instruments, when you get a really good one, it's like a high-powered car. And on that high-powered car, you get some of the feel if you're sitting in the passenger seat up front. You get some idea, but it's only when you get behind the wheel that you know what that car really can do and what it feels like. Trying these ideas that cars give you is not safe. Trying the ideas on a mandolin or a banjo or a guitar is completely safe.
At what point did you realize that you weren't just like fascinated by instruments, but you were becoming, a collector?
My very first guitar was collectible. I already had friends who were collecting them, getting interested in. The first guitar I ever bought was a 1959 Conde Hermanos Classical, which I paid $300 for, and today would be worth about $8,000.
Wow.
My second guitar was a style O Gibson artist model. The classical didn't suit my playing style, so I traded it in. I got a 1915 Gibson artist model that today would be worth maybe $10,000, but today I traded that other one straight across.
Was there like a single moment where you thought like, this isn't just a hobby, this is kind of like my life's work?
Well, it wasn't my life's work when I started collecting.
Sure.
I was obsessive about it, and I was looking. See, the ones I call the first three guitars, that's what I really only had, like one or two guitars at a time. But by the time I got my fourth guitar, I called it my fourth guitar. There were other things I'd found in the pawn shops and music stores and classified ads. So for every one I'd find that I wanted to keep that I'd call my guitar, I'd come across things. You go in a pawn shop and in looking for old Martin guitars, old Gibson guitars, and the right banjos and mandolins, and you go in and they don't have what you want, but they have a Gibson Les Paul model or a Fender Stratocaster. I wasn't interested in that, but I knew what they were worth.
Sure.
And in the pawn shops, most of the pawnbrokers back then, they didn't have internet or a price guide. If you said Martin or Gibson, they wanted $100 for it.
Were you chasing like tone, rarity, what were you chasing when you were buying these first guitars?
I knew what they were. I studied them. By the time I was 12 years old, I was subscribing to Copia, the Journal of the American Society of Ichthyologists and Herpetologists. I was spending a lot of my days in the summer. We lived in Pittsburgh. I'd go to the Carnegie Museum, and I'd be hanging out with professional herpetologist curators, and I was studying, and I knew Copia is not a magazine for the general public. Most of the people who get that have PhDs or at least they're graduate students. Hobbyists don't read that, but I did. Right. I don't do things half-assed. I either do it or I don't do it. I don't do much in moderation. And that sometimes gets me in trouble, but...
getting in trouble is all part of fun life.
Well,
that's what the whole podcast about.
I don't know my standard line about Santa because I believe it would be boring, but I'm not sure, never having personally experienced it. But I knew snakes very well. And I used the exact same methodology I mentioned before to fit in the Linnaean taxonomic order. And I examined them the way a forensic pathologist would. I look at these the exact same way I studied herpetology, snakes, lizards, turtles, amphibians. That's herpetology. And the same methodology worked. But for every guitar I would find, or banjo or mandolin, that I wanted to keep, I would uncover 20 or 30 or more that were great bargains on things I didn't want, but I knew where I could sell them. And I could flip those and then have money left, A, to pay the bills that needed to be paid quickly, and B, I'd have money left to be able to keep the ones I found that were what motivated. What motivated me was the ones I wanted to keep. And I found all this other stuff. And at first I viewed it as a nuisance. I found all this stuff I didn't want. It took me a couple of years to figure out that the stuff I didn't want was what was permitting me to be a collector. It wasn't something I ever gave thought that it would actually support me with a decent standard of living, because they still weren't super expensive back then. But I could be buying things for $75 and selling them for $500 sometimes. And they was for things I didn't want. Things like old Les Paul models. I wasn't interested in them, but I knew what they were and I knew who did want them.
Pretty sure that in 1970, you were, I guess, 35 years old when you opened this place?
No,
Thursday?
24.
24 years old.
Jeez.
And you were like, this is what I'm going to do as my passion in life. And it's funny that you say...
It did not occur to me that I would make a living at it until after I decided to drop. It caused me to drop out of graduate school.
Would you say that separates somebody who owns a ton of instruments to like somebody who collects a ton of
Well,
instruments?
because owning a bunch is not the same as collecting. Difference between having an accumulation. There are plenty of musicians who may own 20 instruments. They're not a collector. They have it because there are lots of different kinds of guitars. This is a guitar. These are guitars.
Yeah.
Notice that they don't look much alike.
Nope.
Totally different. If you're tooled up to make these, you're not tooled up to make those. Totally different construction.
This is art
They
to me.
sound different. Well, these are art.
These are the look I'm talking for me. This is just a beautiful.
Some of those are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And some of those are worth every bit as much. That one on the end is $150,000.
$150,000 guitar.
But this one's worth about $100,000.
Wow.
But it's a very rare guitar.
And it's sentimental to you, this guitar, in a sense where
It's
where you started.
Yeah, it's like my fourth guitar.
Yeah.
It's signed by Lord. This is a very collectible guitar, and it's a very good guitar. It doesn't look very fancy, but some of the most valuable Gibsons are not super fancy, but they're sure enough good.
But they have that soul to them,
This
the feeling.
new in 1924 was $275 plus $2.50 for the case.
That's a lot of money back then, though.
How much do you think a Model T Ford cost in 1924?
I think they were like $400.
They were $300.
See?
With a case, this guitar in 1924 was 50 cents more than a Model T.
Wow.
Crazy. This was not a cheap guitar. So, I say $300, and the people who's listening in on this think, oh, that's cheap. No, it was not cheap in 1924. You could buy farmland, get several acres for the price of this guitar. So it was, but this was the exact, basically it cost exactly as much as a Model T. It was new.
Wild.
Let me get into your head for a second. So what do you see when you first look at a guitar? Like, what are you looking for?
In less than a second, I typically know who made it and what model it is. Sure. And often enough know to within 3 years of how old it is.
Wow.
In first second. Some of them I need a little more. I certainly need, but when I'm buying one, I spend a whole lot more time examining. I want to go through it like the complete forensic exam before I will buy one or trade for it or sign it. Because if I'm consigning one to sell it, if I'm representing it, the customer does not give a bleep whether I own it or whether I have it on consignment. So we do forensic testing, have it done. We're not doing all of that here. It is hundreds of thousands of dollars for equipment, but there is a company here in town that's set up recently and specializing in that kind of thing. And on some of these things, we look, but there is the quality of forgeries keeps getting better and better. When some of these instruments were $300, there weren't very many convincing forgeries. When saying guitar is $300,000, you better believe there's quality forgery.
Same as watches.
And every time you publish an article or a book that shows you what to look for, it's the first ones to buy.
The forgers.
You betcha.
If you can forge, and the thing is, the stakes are so high when you're talking about watches that are hundreds of thousands of dollars, guitars are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Spending $20,000 to $30,000 to forge a product is worth it.
Absolutely. It's interesting that the record price for a Van Gogh painting some years ago was set at Sotheby's for sunflower painting at $80 million.
It's wild.
And it was examined by numerous experts who felt that it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the buyer paid the $80 million after buying it, decided he would have some forensic testing done.
Yep.
And guess why? Some of those pigments were chemical formulas that didn't even exist in Vincent's lifetime.
So, of course, not real.
It wasn't real. And Sotheby's had to refund $80 million.
Wow.
But you know what it did to the value of Van Goghs?
It went up
Why?
because there's less of them. If there's less of something and there's proof to how to authenticate.
Well, it didn't make the value of that then, that fake.
Not that one, but the others.
Raised the value of the others because the precedent had been set. If it had been
Brought
real,
attention to it.
it would. Now people are willing to pay that. So a record price. And then after that, there was a frenzy to buy Van Goghs and the price went up rapidly.
Here's one for you. What's the most expensive guitar you've ever sold?
Well, we recently sold a Martin D45 for $750,000.
Almost $1 million. That's a lot of money.
We've sold a few that were 500 plus.
Wow.
And I think it won't be long before a good pre-award D28 would bring as much as $500,000 if you have one that is sunburst finish in the D45. And they're pushing it.
They're pushing $1 million now, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there are now in memorabilia, there are things that bring more. There are still memorabilia collectors who will pay more money than any of the people so far are paying for vintage originals.
Yeah. Well, memorabilia is
Collectors, if you can certify that it belonged to Elvis or whatever, those people don't care about originality of the instrument. They care, is it exactly the way Elvis left it? If you refinish it because you want to pretty it up and it doesn't have scratches that Elvis put on, it's ruined. This has collected.
That's like Paul Newman's Daytona sold for $16.5 million. And it's yes, it's $1 million watch, but 16 million of that really is Paul Newman is
I
why.
think it's a very poor investment.
Somebody thought so. It was good.
Somebody disagrees.
Oh, I can't help it. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I think it's a very poor investment. The watch is what it is. And Paul Newman is a big deal right now. 50 years from
Who's going to know who Paul Newman is?
who gives a shit about Paul
But
Newman 50 years from now?
50 years from now, Presley and his music is still going to be Presley. That's
Probably.
But you have one friend who has played and helped the Beatles on some albums, and you've pretty much started your business selling guitars to him. And there's a watch named after him, which is Eric Clapton, and it's a Universal Geneve Tricompax, and it's a watch he wore in the 70s.
Well, this was a gift from Eric to me.
That's amazing.
I've been dealing with Eric since 1970, and I still, I've got his cell number, and I've got his email, and when I send him a message, he'll generally reply within 30 minutes.
That's amazing.
And he's actually a great guy.
So you're probably, like, he's arguably considered one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And you've played a huge role in having him, giving him the paintbrushes to
Bought about
do that.
75 guitars from me over the
Wow.
years. But keep in mind, I've been dealing with him for 56 years. So if he bought even 2 guitars a year, that's more than he's actually bought from me.
That's
And
incredible.
Phil I've known since he was 18 years old, and he's bought, I think at this point it's something like 87. He knows exactly. He has right on his phone, he has a complete inventory of his guitars. He knows where he got every one of them. He's got about 300 guitars.
Incredible.
He knows every one of them, and he's a wonderful player, as well as every bit of the Mr. Nice Guy you see on stage. It's real.
It's real.
Phony.
Oh, that's amazing.
Amy Grant, either one. He and his wife are two of the most sincere people you could ever hope to meet.
I have a question for you, George. So I'd say in this entire warehouse, you probably have at least, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 700 or more instruments. Maybe, yeah.
Well, there's some hiding up
Okay,
there.
I'm sure.
We had 3 floors, there's a couple thousand guitars.
And, you showed us your personal collection earlier.
Yeah.
How do you
Didn't see all.
okay. How do you
We had out room to put them on.
How do you decide what you're going to hang on to and what you're going to let go?
I like things that are interesting in the same way that a museum curator would be interested. It's not just how pretty it is or how impressive. It's not always bragging rights. Sure. It's things that are meaningful to me. To me, to have a collection, there should be a theme to it. I'm not collecting just simply because they're rare. In coins, rare and condition is everything. 2 things, rare and condition. Doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be functional. Like you wouldn't really take a 1914 D mint condition penny and put it in the go machine.
No.
Or wouldn't spend it.
No.
Or you wouldn't take a collectible stamp and spend it. Well, some of these watches, if you have a Patek Moon Phase watch that
they live in safes, right? I like your Patek because it's lived the life. And the thing is like any vintage products, or they have to live. They have to feel.
If you have a $300,000 watch, who's going to wear it?
Some people do, but that's why I don't wear.
You might
Personally, I
scratch
don't.
it.
But that's why I personally, I like vintage. I want to have the story. I want to have the feeling
Like
over time.
a neat watch like this, it's nice and I like it. And I knew it was a Patek when I bought it. And the guy who sold it to me knew it was a Patek. It's because that's what they brought at that time. In the early 70s, you could buy a watch like that. And it had a leather band, but it did have the original gold Patek buckle, which I didn't value much. I let him keep it.
How much you pay for that?
I paid $500 for it.
$500. Well,
It didn't come with this band.
no.
The band was separate. But the band, gold was, how much gold cost per ounce in 1970?
$350 an ounce? Less?
It had to be like around $7 or $8. Was it?
No. It was
Not though.
Okay, let's go back further in time. In 1920, how much did gold cost per ounce?
that I don't. I can't give you the
You
answer.
should figure that out real easy.
Or around the gold.
Oh, U.S. dollar?
Gold coins.
Yep.
There were $20 gold pieces.
Oh, so $20.
$20 an ounce.
That's what gold cost per ounce.
Okay.
Now, how long did it stay at that price?
I don't think very long.
Oh, you're wrong.
It stayed for a long time at that price.
Over a century.
Wow.
Wow.
A $20 gold piece, when they first minted them, was $20.
And gold hit $5,300 now.
I know that. Gold was government regulated on the price. And gold coins were legal tender until Roosevelt.
Got it.
And they were $20 an ounce for gold pre-Civil War, and they were still $20 an ounce when Roosevelt was first elected.
I wish I was there. I would have bought them all.
But then when they were no longer recognized as coinage, you were supposed to bring them into the bank and trade them. And, it was supposed to be even illegal to have them, but people kept them anyway.
A few people, you can still find some of the old ones.
Find plenty of them. But gold was re-regulated, and it was a new price on gold until Nixon.
What was that price?
$35.
$35.
In 1970, when I opened up my store, gold was $35 an ounce.
Wow.
And when I bought the watch band, you could buy gold jewelry. You could have somebody make you a custom ring, and gold was affordable. So we think of gold as really, really valuable, and there were people prospecting for gold and refining and mining and collecting. But gold is $35 an ounce.
Wow.
And as soon as it was deregulated within a matter of not much over a week, it went from $35 to $325. And then it's had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Now gold price varies. It's not government regulated. But when they had gold coins, what good would coins be if they just had wild fluctuations in value? Governments wouldn't like that.
Nope.
You started collecting guitars, and
That affects watch prices.
Watch prices do go parallel with gold. That I agree with. You know, I just never have had a chance to ever own a Patek Philippe for $500. So congratulations.
Old enough.
Oh, okay, give me some time, right?
Well, like when I got guitars.com, how much do you think that domain name cost me?
when would you buy? What year?
I think he's probably one of the first.
80 years old.
Right. When did you buy the guitar.com? So like,
I was in business already in 1970 when I was 24.
so like probably maybe 1997, 1998, like when you purchased it? Really? 'Cause I'm trying to think when the
And I was-
year.
97.
As soon as you could buy domain names, I bought it.
Wow. What was it?
So what
That-
do you think it would have cost me?
Probably like,
$100.
no.
$30.
Yeah.
$30.
And I didn't even go in wanting to buy guitars.com. I knew that I'd better register gruhnguitars.com. And I said, well, if I registered gruhnguitars.com, I'd better register them in Gruhn. And those two, I got to $30 each. And then I said, I wonder if guitars is available. It was. So it's an afterthought. I got that for an extra $30.
That's incredible.
And then I checked to see if guitar was available. It was not. It had already been sold.
Someone beat you to it, right? But people want guitars, not just one guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I figured. And which one do you think is more valuable today? gruhnguitars.com, gruhn.com, or guitars.com?
Probably Gruhn Guitars. Hopefully.
The domain name.
Yeah.
No, the guitars.com is much more valuable. So one
It's all the
thing,
traffic.
A lot of traffic.
Gruhn, it's a German name. It had an O out over the U. And how many people are going to know how to spell it?
Yeah.
If you hear Gruhn Guitars, how do you spell that? Are you going to come up with Gruhn? Not right.
No, not unless you know German. Then you would think that, but you know.
Even for German, then they'd know it with the umlaut is actually pronounced a bit differently.
So answer this. You started collecting in 1963.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane because me and Chad are sitting here, and I know. I mean, the passion. I mean, is there. Like, you're still so passionate about guitars. Like,
Oh, they're fun. That's what drives.
how did you preserve that passion? Because you're looking at this not only as a collector, but a businessman. You're trying to help other people continue their passion
I
for
think
guitars. Like, how do you preserve your
I have
passion?
a certain temperament. And I said early on, I never claimed to be sane, but I believe it would be boring. But I'm not sure, never having personally experienced it. I think that collectors have a certain mentality that the real collectors are not in it just for the money. Because to me, by definition, if you're collecting, it may be of some interest to you that they have monetary value, but if you're intending to keep it,
There is no value.
then you're not likely.
Yeah.
It's like art collectors. They amass a huge collection that they never sell,
Yep.
and then they end up, the estate donates it to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Like, the Mellon family or others, they didn't sell their collections. They stay in the family or they donate them to a museum.
Or let them exhibit at the museums.
Well,
You have pretty much a guitar museum here, more than probably most museums even have.
Custodian of American guitar
I do
history.
feel that I'm a custodian. When you buy one of these things, if you want to modify this, I won't sell it to you.
No.
You're a custodian of it. If you get a Stradivari violin, you don't carve your name in it. Or if you buy a Van Gogh painting, you own it. But if you were to deface it or decide that you want to modify it and you think you're good enough and you can add a few things in it and you're going to paint some extra stuff into it, no dealer will sell it to you again.
No.
They won't deal with you again. it's like you are the custodian. A good painting, there's still the Mona Lisa, and Da Vinci's been gone a long time. But these instruments here are pieces of our cultural history. They have value above and beyond just monetary. But my collection is not the collection of the most expensive guitars I've ever found. I have a few that are expensive, but some of the ones I have are only a few $100s, but they're very interesting.
And you love them.
And I didn't get them to keep. I didn't get them to sell. Excuse me. If I add it to my collection, it's something I'm really not wanting to sell.
Do you feel like an instrument can absorb the personality of the player or the owner?
I think that owners would like to think that, but and if you play it really hard, you can break it in, and it will. But the fact is, I've seen instruments that are beautiful, crafted, great instruments that are old and have virtually never been played, and some of them sound every bit as good as some of the ones that have been played extensively. And it does help to limber them up to play them, but who've only played in 50 or even 100 years, and it looks new and sounds a little bit stiff. You can play it for 2 weeks and it'll open up just fine.
Have you ever handled an instrument that just like gave you the chills, like once you touched it?
This does. And I've got guitarists that do that.
This has been a pleasure. You know, you have brought us into your office and your workplace and basically your museum and gave us a first-class world introduction to collecting guitars and American history. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us, giving us the opportunity. Everybody out there, we're definitely gonna make sure we link George's website. You know, obviously, some of these beauties can be yours if you're interested in any of them. And George is gonna sing us give us a farewell tune.
It's a very good sounding guitar.
Thank you very much. This was a pleasure.